Right then, welcome back to the channel, Stephen Howson, and today we're going to be talking about Bruno Fernandes to Saudi Arabia. What's really going on? This sort of emerged yesterday. United's captain and talisman linked with a move to Al Hilal. Started yesterday, has been shut down a little bit by Manchester United, but I'm going to get into why that doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means on the surface of things. Al Hilal are pushing for a transfer before the 14th of June, which is when they're going to compete in the Club World Cup. Bruno's representatives, lawyer and agent, met with Al Hilal yesterday. That was reported by a guy called Abdullah Al Hunayan, who is a tier 1 journalist for Saudi stuff. He's from the paper Al Riyadh. He was reporting that the top executives of Al Hilal met with Bruno, agent and lawyer, to discuss a potential transfer. Obviously, that's meeting with an agent and not meeting the player with Manchester United's permission. If that's true, and I think that probably was true, I think the way that that's reported is probably actually exactly how it went down and what happened. But if true, I think that's serious intent from Al Hilal. I think that shows how serious they are. Since Neymar's departure, they've wanted a marquee star. And going into the FIFA Club World Cup, I definitely think that that's the sort of move that they would done. So this rumour's out there. I think it's real. Now, is it credible? Is it something that we should be worried about? Because right now, Al Hunayan's the only one that's reported this. Now, it might be the only one that's reported this because he's the only one with this. He's been tipped off by the Al Hilal side. Maybe he's been tipped off by Bruno's agent. Either way, right now, Saudi journalist Abdullah Al Hunayan is the only one that is reporting this. It's been picked up by all of the aggregators, but at the moment, not a single European-based or Tier 1 Manchester United journalist has confirmed what he's talking about in terms of either a bid or the actual talks. Now, that's a bit of a red flag in terms of where's this going to go next, but it also could just be the opening salvo of negotiations which could develop over the next couple of weeks. This is going to have to develop quickly. If they want him ahead of the 14th of June, there is no doubt in my mind this is going to have to develop very, very quickly and get done. Now, the fact that only Al Hunayan is reporting this, not a known source in European transfer circles, literally just Saudi sources, should be a red flag. But when it's a Saudi club, I think you have to listen to the fact that he's met with them. Now, him meeting with them doesn't signal anything in of itself. It could mean that they're talking up, listen, would you still be interested in signing Bruno if he signs another deal with Manchester United come the end of that deal in a few years' time? That might be the deal. Now, the fact that they've already put a deadline on it of getting him in for the 14th of June for the Club World Cup suggests that maybe that isn't the case. Now, obviously, it's been picked up by all of the other fan outlets. Everyone's just reporting what Al Hunayan's saying. Romano has come out, obviously tier 2 in terms of reliability, but he's weighed in and he said no formal bid or approach from Al Hilal has been made for Bruno. Again, you would expect that to be the case, and you would expect the way modern transfers happen nowadays is all of the negotiation happens prior to the contact with the club. You kind of have an idea how much the club are going to want, and you kind of sound the club out. Would you be looking at 80 million, 90 million, 100 million, something like that? The player negotiations is the hard stuff. You gauge the interest with the player. You get negotiations with the player all but done before you approach the club. So I don't think that is a massive drama. Now, later last night, Chris Wheeler, Nathan Salt, both put out news that United have got no intention of selling Bruno Fernandes this summer. And they sort of even acknowledged that no formal bid has come in, but even if one did, United wouldn't entertain it. And they sort of let it be known that Bruno might be one of those so-called untouchable players that United aren't willing to sell. Now, that sort of report, even though it's not tier one, I would put my entire life on the fact that they've been told that by someone in the comms department at the club. In fact, I think I would be able to tell exactly who that person was that I spoke to those journalists, because I've seen that up close. I've been on the end of that at times myself, not with the current guy, but with a previous guy that used to do that at United. So I would be quite secure in thinking that that news that broke out yesterday to those local journalists was one that was given to them from the club. However, you still don't know if it's a tactic from the club to seed that information out there, because this is part of an ongoing bidding process. You know, Al Hilal put it out there that they're meeting with Bruno. Manchester United put it out there that he's not for sale. And it's all just a public show and dance until they actually sit down and have a negotiation with each other where they come to an agreement or not about whether Bruno Fernandes would be sold. Now, United's not for sale stance. Is that reality or is that PR? Now, I don't think Bruno's importance to Manchester United can be overstated. What's he on, like 37 goals and assists or something this season? 19, is it 19 and 18? Something like that. Goals and assists. You cannot overstate how important he is to Manchester United. In fact, without him, I mean, we're a ball hair above relegation zone as it is right now. Yes, we are on the cusp of a final in Europe, but we are a ball hair above relegation in the league. If you remove Bruno's goals out of this team, Manchester United would surely be facing relegation. So is it that simple? You can't sell him because he's too good, and if he goes, we are screwed. Not necessarily. I think there's a touch of the Coutinho about it here. The fact it's a Saudi club, United might be able to get more than market value out of them. If they're desperate for a marquee player to take them to the Club World Cup, Bruno could be that guy. Bruno could be one of the few gettable players in world football that has got the profile that would excite. I understand that. He delivers goals. He could actually be a very, very astute signing for Al Hilal. That being the case, he is a 30-year-old player. One that's probably not got a ton of resale value beyond this summer window. This is the last chance you might get anything for him as he enters 30. If someone came in waving 100, 125 million quid for Bruno, I think United would have to consider it. I think you would have to consider it long and hard, because United are under the constraints of PSR. We are under the constraints of FFP, and probably more so than both of those things, we are under the constraints of being absolutely skint by being mismanaged for the last decade. I think we'll actually be okay on the PSR front, because I don't think it'll be the only sale that we make this summer. But United needs so many signings to come in, and tactically Bruno's not the most perfect ideal fit for this system. He's been successful this season, but he's actually not been in a single position. He's played two positions. We're playing him in the 10 and we're playing him back in the 6. And he's managing to contribute by doing both, but I don't think that's a long-term sustainable, viable option for him. And it's a calculated risk here as well. You could cash in, get 125 million for him now this summer, use that to fund and go and be a success, or you could use that, blow it on dickheads like Anthony, and it be an absolute waste and end up in a far worse position. It's a complete risk to keep him, and it's a complete risk to sell him. You can keep him, turn down that 125 million, and he goes and slips on a pedalo on his summer holidays and never plays football again. You know, or you could sell him, and he actually goes and does like a Modric or a Giggs thing and carries on into his 38, 39, 40th year. Like, we have no way of knowing what's going to happen. I think it does make sense if the offer came in and you've correctly identified. And again, it comes down to what the manager wants, what Jason Wilcox wants. And if they say, do you know what? As much as the goals that he has scored have been completely valuable for us, we think we would be a better team, because ultimately that's what it's all about, if we reinvested his money into this player, this player, this player, and this player. Now, I can't sit here and make a single sporting reason why Bruno Fernandes should go. In just the sporting isolation part of it. But unfortunately, there's so much more to it than that. There is so much more to it than that. He has got a decent amount of time. I think he's 1+1 left on his contract. You're not going to get a big fee for him beyond this window. From a sporting point of view, honestly, without Bruno this year, we would be genuinely looking at being relegated. But that doesn't mean that he is the right person for us to go forward. And I think it is a risk to keep him, and I think it is a risk to sell him, and it's just whichever level of risk you want to keep, you want to maintain. And can you confidently go and replace him? Or does taking the cash make Manchester United worse? There's a chance this is a Coutinho moment where you go and reinvest that money into a couple of very key signings, and that takes you forward as a club. And there is a chance that this is the last embers of a dying empire, and we never get back to the height of this again, where we've got a genuine match winner of that level of quality, genuine world-class quality in the squad. I'm so glad it's not my decision on what to do should that money come in, because even though they're saying there is no bid that's come in right now, I think there is one coming, and I think someone's going to have a massive, massive decision to make. Let me know in the comments. This one, I imagine, is going to divide opinion. I don't think it's a case of would you sell him, yes or no. I would like you to put in some sort of a nuance and context to this, because I think it requires it. But let me know your thoughts. Those are mine, I guess. I'm not saying sell him. I'm not saying keep him. I'm saying there is absolutely a discussion and some considerations to be made here. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.